Come, children, gather around and hear tales about days long ago in the 1980s, before we knew the pressure of too many choices. Movie theaters had 3 screens, TV had 3 channels, and there were only 2 major league soda games in town: Coca-Cola and Pepsi. But just like the Highlander, there could only be one, resulting in a billion-dollar clash of celebrity endorsements, blind taste tests, and the nightmare of new Coke. Today on Weird History Food, we're talking about the 80s carbonated cola wars. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel and let us know in the comments what other classic food wars you'd like to hear about. Okay, Coke or Pepsi? Choose wisely, my friends. The trouble between Coke and Pepsi had been bubbling since their inception. In 1886, a Georgia pharmacist called Dr. John S. Pemberton came up with the idea for blending carbonated water and sweet syrup into a refreshing fountain beverage. A few minor things to note. Pemberton was a morphine addict due to an injury from the Civil War, and Coke was not his first foray into beverages. He'd begun with something called French wine cola, which claimed to be a wonderful invigorator of sexual organs. Wow, can't believe that one didn't take off. During a statewide prohibition of alcohol, Pemberton created a non-alcoholic temperance drink, dubbing it Coca-Cola. And while the recipe for Coca-Cola is locked up tighter than your old MySpace account, we can tell you Pemberton's secret ingredients were real Coke, the white powdered kind, and caffeine. Much of soda's earliest innovations were created by pharmacologists adding random substances from their shelves. The Atlanta Journal sounded a coked-up horn when they wrote the soda was delicious, refreshing, exhilarating, invigorating. You tend to speak in exclamation points after downing a can of those secret ingredients. As Coca-Cola's popularity grew, other pharmacists took note. In 1893, a North Carolinian named Dr. Caleb Bradham developed Brad's drink by combining carbonated water with sugar, caramel, and other natural flavors.
That's what I like to hear.
5 years later, Brad's drink was rebranded as Pepsi Cola, either because Brad was and is a pretty lame name, or because they didn't want to get in trouble for stealing his drink. By 1902, the Pepsi Cola company was up and running, but Coca-Cola was still the dominant cola for the first part of the 20th century. Pepsi had a rough go at it at first, going bankrupt in 1923, though in fairness, pretty much everyone went broke around then. Pepsi restructured in the